Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the 2016 Bill Nees's Football Coaches Show. I am your host, Chip Hare. With me is, of course, the star of the show, Coach Bill Nees. And today we are at just finished week one into week two of the early part of the season, and the Indians take a 48-0 win against Dayton Meadowdale Lions on Friday night. And certainly, Coach, before we get into that, we're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk a little bit about Trotwood, and we're going to talk about senior Allen Schrubb. So a lot to get to. Let's get right to it. Feels real good to get a win after week one under your belt, certainly at home with the 2006 state champions coming back to watch the Indians for some and haven't been back here since then. So good way to get the season started.
It was good. Probably the only drawback of the whole thing was the fact that we had to a little bit of a weather delay. But nice that you're at home when you have the weather delay, so we were able to stay in our. We didn't have to have a bus ride, be able to come right back and get it going that morning. And I think our players really came out on Saturday with a lot more focus than probably what we had Friday night. And they came out and they really put two drives together right off the bat. The defense was flawless, and everything just kind of came together. It was a great day because we were able to get everybody on the team in the game. And anytime you get that and you have a big win, everybody leaves happy.
Well, certainly it was Friday night, had a big feel to it. There was a great crowd. You can tell there was a lot of optimism in the air as the first game of the season. A little slow for the Indians taking off. Multiple reasons probably for that. We'll talk a little bit about the second half, which is on Saturday. But into that first half, the Indians were trying to get their feet underneath them. Meadowdale got there late, and it was kind of a strange beginning, kind of had a strange aura to it. But the Indians did do some good things, starting with the touchdown by Austin Davis on an 11-yard scamper.
Yeah.
Of all things.
Well, the kids were teasing him today because they said, no one ever suspected that his first touchdown would be via the ground. Everybody assumed, he's a big arm quarterback. Probably has. I don't think we even have a running play in our offense that requires him to run, except that one was so wide open, he just ducked under and ran. It was a nice deal. But I think Friday night, probably one of the big things is, Colton Meyer, our center, came up with a bad knee, second play of the game, and that I think we did all right. You always have your contingency plan of what you want to do. He'll go here, he'll go here. But then when you implement it, you just don't realize how far it reaches in terms of who's going to back up who's now a backup. And Colton's on a couple special teams, so we had to replace him on special teams and then get a backup for his back, for the guy that's playing. So I think it discombobulated us just a little bit. And then once we were able to sit down with him at halftime, talk about what he was going to do job-wise, he got his confidence back. And Walling came in. That's what I'm talking about. Our backup center came in. Walling did a nice job for us. And then the next day, he was able to really be prepared. Because as a backup, you're never quite prepared for playing on a Friday night. You think you are, but now when he knew he was going to go to sleep that night saying, I'm the starting center tomorrow, I think he did a nice job.
We talk about Austin Davis doing a nice job with on the ground with his feet, and he had a different center he had to work with. Some nice passes that were caught by Hayden Schrubb, and then, of course, a nice touchdown pass by Ben Schmeezing.
And then Derek Hyde also had a great waggle pass that he caught. So we were able to disperse the ball around. I think a couple of, Caleb Patton also caught a ball too. So I think we were able to get the ball to virtually everybody, in the perimeter. I think that was good that Austin is seeing where that ball needs to go and throw it, where it needs to go.
Well, we talk a lot about a lot of returners for the Indians in the backfield, but Austin, was his first varsity football game, and it is a little bit different when you're underneath, no pun intended, on the Friday night lights, and you've got to make those decisions. And he has some nice receivers that he can throw the ball to, and no question it was nice. But certainly the highlight was the next day when we had to come back and talk a little bit about, before we talk about that second half, what's that like as a coach to get your guys knowing that they got to come back the next day and still got to get ready for battle? What are some of the things that you're talking about the night before and putting in their heads before they're leaving?
Just the first thing is you guys got to get something to eat. You immediately have to get something to eat. And we've got a strong group of seniors that have great leadership. And I just reminded some of the seniors that they need to not be up all night playing video games, not out running around everything. Do what you're supposed to do. And we have a saying, do the right thing 100% of the time. And you know what the right thing is. It doesn't have to be spelled out in a long list. It's just do the right thing, and everybody knows what that list is. And so as a result, I think those guys, but when they came in Saturday, they were ready to go. I looked at them, I seen everybody's eyes, and I said, okay, we're set.
Well, there was no question the Indians did the right thing on Saturday because they came in and came in with a purpose. Really hit the ground running, and no pun intended with that either. Allen Schrubb was fantastic running. We talk about Darrien, and certainly he is a quality back who is probably one of the best backs in the conference, and if not at the state of Ohio. But Allen Schrubb certainly showed why he is also one of the top backs.
Well, I think when Allen Schrubb shows one thing, and Allen Schrubb shows that together they might be as good a tandem in a backfield as anybody has in Ohio. I think those two guys together are tough. And they're both hard runners. They both are able to make cuts, and they're a little different in their style, but they're both punishing.
Well, Allen's first touchdown, you look at it, was 34 yards, and it just wasn't a bulldoze. I mean, he was dancing a little bit. He did a little juke to get in the end zone, and he certainly has light on his feet, but he's very athletic, and he reads the defense very well.
Yeah, he does. He's got great vision, and he's just always been a running back. It's one of those kids where, you don't want to pigeonhole him, but he's that guy. He's kind of like Trent Yeoman, that they were just natural running backs. They know where to find it. They know where to see it. You don't have to coach a lot with them. They just instinctively know what to do.
Well, and we don't want to forget Darrien because, you talk about that tandem. Their chemistry is very good. It's very good on the field. It's very good in the hallways. At the high school, it's very good off the field. And you can tell that Darrien had no problem with Allen being the guy, and he was blocking just as hard as Allen would be blocking for him. And you don't always find that in locker rooms. Sometimes the guy can't get enough touches, and clearly there was one guy was happy for the other.
Yeah.
The best thing about Darrien is that Darrien has not employed any type of superstar mentality. He's an early commitment to Michigan State University, yet he's happy for all of his teammates when they do well, and he's very happy to help his teammates do better, whether or not it be blocking, whether or not it be this. So yeah, he's a great role model for hopefully kids that are going to go to the college in the future as to how to handle all the hype and all the light.
Statistically, a interesting stat. There's several things that stick out. One, we had a total yards of 475 yards, that we held them under 100. Again, Friday night wasn't pretty, but yet we were still able to keep them. We had a goal line stand of them here in the first half. We kept the momentum going, and certainly on Saturday they did not.
Yeah, the bottom line with offenses these days, and it's really hard because they're all spread out, and everybody wants to just dink it here, and everybody's got pretty good underneath type passing games, and they had a good under passing game, and they were kind of content to gain 3 and 4, and then we'd bat one down, and then we'd tackle them, and that's very hard to go all the way down the field doing that, and then when you get inside the 5, it's very hard because the field is now shrunk. And all of a sudden, as soon as it shrinks down, then we start blitzing, and then everything had to go a lot faster for him. And so I thought toward the end there, when we were able to make that goal line stand, I was really proud of what we did because we switched our coverage a little bit, we started blitzing a little bit, and our defense really kind of took control of it.
Well, the one thing that was also clear in week 1 was conditioning, particularly on Friday night. The delay probably helped them because they had their hands on their knees and they were sucking wind a little bit. Obviously, we were in pretty good shape, and certainly coming back on Saturday, we just continued that momentum.
Yeah, and that's I know I've talked about this before, but the hardest thing is coming out of two-a-days and not knowing if you've got your team in shape for the season. You don't want to grind them down to the point where everybody's hurt, everybody's got a pulled hamstring, and everybody's pretty much just dead. But on the other hand, you don't want to find out the first game that you're not even close, to conditioning. Right. So I think we did a pretty good job on that.
Well, certainly as we look at the game, the goal was to obviously get the win, but to play well and stay healthy. And I think for the most part, the Indians did that as we roll into week 2. A different type of opponent that we're going to see, but certainly one that we're very familiar with in Trotwood Madison. Trotwood pre-season ranked number 3 in the state. However, on Friday and again into Saturday, they went into a tough opponent, one of our own divisional teams in Troy, losing 10-6. So this will be their first home opener. But like last year, we had to play them right after they played Troy. Troy, of course, beat them, and we had to come back. So there's some similarities that are odd about last year into this year, weeks 1 and 2. Certainly, Troy, we're very familiar with them.
Yeah, and I don't think that slipped past anybody. I think everybody's kind of looking at that the same way. The biggest thing is that Trotwood Madison is a talented football team, and we've got to go down there and play great football. The other interesting thing is that we had to go down there again. At least last year, Troy went back and forth. But we're going to have to be prepared to go down there and play. And one of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to say, okay, well, history says that Troy won last year, we won, okay, so it's the same thing. And okay, we'll see you Friday night. We got to go out tonight. And we had a great practice tonight, a very spirited practice tonight. And our leadership really showed again with those seniors. And I think that's going to carry over into tomorrow. We're going to get some excitement in the school a little bit going on during the course of the week. And I think we'll be ready to go when we get down there and play them.
As we talk about Trotwood and we talk about their back, Hargrove, he is certainly probably the guy that everyone's talking about in the Miami Valley, even particularly in the state. He rushed over 3,000 yards. How is it for us that we, knowing a guy like that, what's our game plan? Because obviously our defensive end, our defensive line, as we talked about, is probably one of our greatest strengths on this.
Yeah.
Although our secondary Friday or Saturday was pretty good too. What's the mindset on that? Do you talk about the individual, or you look a little bit more on the team? Because obviously the team's a little bit different. They have a different offensive line than they do this year. What's your thought as coaches?
Well, when you're playing against a two-back offense, which is what Trotwood runs predominantly, and they feature him, you can really get into old school gang tackling, stuff the gap and everybody caged down underneath and all the old cliches that we used to use about 8-9 years ago. But you can't anymore because everybody's spread and everything's operating one-on-one out in space. Well, this we can go right back to, hey, one guy, two guys, three guys, we got to get some helmets on him. And we don't tackle with our helmets, obviously, but it's a cliche. But we've got to get some people on him. We got to get other people in on him. And if our linebackers step up and stop that ISO, and then he's going to either cut back or bounce it, we have some pretty talented players in the second and third tier of our defense that can take care of it.
Well, certainly the Indians will go into Trotwood with healthy and feeling good about what's happened for us in Week 1. And I know there's a good rivalry, a good spirited rivalry between Piqua and Trotwood that will roll into Friday as well. Coach, thank you for taking time to talk to us about Week 1. Real quick though, we're going to bring Allen Schrubb here in a little bit, and I know you talked a little bit about him. Talk a little bit about his leadership. A couple weeks ago, a lot of people that may not know this, but he got hurt in the first week of practice. Yeah. And so he's had a little adversity already in the offseason. He had an injury, kind of re-injured to that in practice. Talk a little about how he's able to overcome that and what he's been like and how he's grown up as a young man.
Well, when he first came, when we first started off, he was just like I said, he was a running back only. Couldn't really play. Honestly, couldn't play. We couldn't find a position on defense that he could master. And it was just like, hey, go play running back. And we always had really good running backs. He had to sit and watch. Actually, he's now been a part of, two or three GWAC Offensive Players of the Year. Unfortunately, they've been in the backfield. At the same time, he's trying to play running back for us. And he has just embraced the weight room. He's put on some weight. He's got bigger and got faster. His 40 time was not really ever that great. It was just okay. He's down to 4.7s, 4.6s for a 230-pound kid. That's great. And he's just been able to make himself, weight room-wise, into a legitimate candidate. And he's always been a very personable guy. Kids gravitate toward him. Sure. And he's got good leadership qualities, and he came in this year, and those two, him and Darrien have just, locked into there. And yeah, he was hurt for a while, and he actually was hurt for a while, and I know he's kind of thinking in his mind, well, I'll come back in a little bit, I can take my time. And then, Ben Smeezing moves to running back. Ben Smeezing has a great game, and all of a sudden he starts picking up the rehab a lot. And not that he was faking, but he was picking it up. He was picking it up quite a bit. And he ended up made a comeback, and he now also plays a little inside linebacker for us. So he's been a very versatile guy, and he was named today captain of our special teams because he's been one of our main special teams guys for the last 2 years. So at tonight's practice, he was named special teams captain. So he's pretty proud. He had a good day today.
Well, I would say certainly it's been fun to watch him develop the last couple of years, and you certainly have seen the maturity on him. Mm-hmm. And you use the word leadership, and I'm not sure a couple of years ago that was a word that you would described him, and now he's in a position where other guys are following him, and you said doing the right thing at the right times, and he's certainly following that mantra.
That's it.
Coach, thanks so much for your time,
right.
And we're going to bring Allen Schrubb in for the second half of the Bill Nees' Coaches Show. And again, Friday night, the Piqua Indians travel to Trotwood Madison for Week 2. So stay right there. We're going to bring Allen Schrubb, senior fullback. Welcome back to the second half of the Bill Nees Coaches Show, and with us right now is senior fullback Allen Schrubb. And Allen, week one's behind us. Let's talk about you here in a little bit. Let's talk about the team first. Got to feel good to get that first win underneath the belt against Meadowdale and rolling into week two against Trotwood.
Yeah, it feels really good. We just had to get the team real hyped up and ready to go. Come back the next day after our delay and get things rolling.
Let's talk about that delay. It's a little unusual for what you're certainly used to. Friday night, you get the game in, win or lose, and you go home, get up the next morning, come in for films. You got a half in, you had to sit and wait, and then go back to bed, get yourself rested again, and get yourself mentally, physically ready to go again. How was that for you? Was that a challenge for you? Was it what different was that for you from a standpoint of getting up in the morning and just coming in and doing films?
I mean, it was completely different because we weren't ready to sit and prepare for the whole day and get ourselves ready as an individual player. We had to come back the next morning tired maybe. Some were tired, some were beat up, but we had to fight through all of it and just grind out and beat the team.
You talk about grinding out. Third quarter is a big quarter for the Indians, and certainly in particular Allen Schrubb. 14-0 going into the second half, which would be on Saturday, and a big quarter, which probably a quarter you may never forget. Certainly a big quarter for the Indians, but it's certainly individually on your end. 3 big runs, over 30 yards in each of them. You get 2 touchdowns to put the Indians on the board, and probably in a situation where really just kind of put their foot on the throat. How'd that feel on your end to get that and be a part of that?
Oh, it felt really great, and honestly, I can't thank my line enough, and Darrien blocking for me. Watching film, they were blocking all the way downfield, doing a great job.
Well, you know, Allen, you have, unfortunately, sometimes when you're the guy behind something like a Darrien Tipps-Clemons last year, you were blocking for him all the time. On Saturday, he was blocking for you, and you really do seem to have good chemistry. There seems to be no jealousy between the two of you. You really seem to help each other out, and that's a quality that certainly is a big part of why the Indians are successful.
Yeah, we're always working hard for each other, always pushing each other to the limit here at practice so we can strive on game night.
Let's talk a little bit about your senior year. Obviously, this is a big year for you. This is your last year as an Indian wearing the uniform. What's some of your goals this year as a senior, and what you're looking forward to accomplish this year? Not necessarily just individually, but as a team for the Indians.
Well, of course, we're trying to do great as a team this year in the season. Hopefully make it on the playoffs this year and just make a run.
Certainly coming off of a nice run last year for the playoffs and into your senior year, and you are off to a great start thus far. One last thing before we let you go. Your plans for next year, as you get here before you know it, what's a year from now? Where's Allen Schrubb going to be, and what are some of the things you're thinking about doing?
Well, I'd like to play college football, and I want to see what happens after the season, see if anything rolls in. If not, I'm going to go pursue a degree in construction management. School.
Good for you.
Not sure yet where.
Allen, thanks for joining us today, and we certainly wish you luck as we roll into week 2 at Trotwood, and I know you're going to have an outstanding senior year. Good luck to you. This will conclude the first week of Bill Nees' show. Remember, Friday night, the Indians will be traveling to Trotwood to take on the number 3 team in the state, and Trotwood Madison kickoff at 7:00 p.m. For senior Allen Schrubb, I'm Chip Hare. We will see you next week for the Bill Nees Coaches Show.